What's up, baby dolls? Are you ready to go deep into the truth of stuff I've already been telling you for years? Yes, this is a fantastic interview podcast on Danny Jones, and we're going to go speak about this lady here, Catherine, friends. Deep respect for this woman. Caddy Boo, if you're listening out there, you are so close, my dear, so close. I'm sure she knows about crypto and Bitcoin. We're going to go through some really deep red pill stuff, friends. She's going to reveal pretty much how the government works. And yes, it does tie in to PulseChain, decentralization, money, liberty, freedom of speech, pDAI. We're going to go deep. And yeah, some UFO stuff out here. Now, friends, if you're familiar with UFO stuff, you know there's disinformation everywhere. And there's a reason for that. Okay? Pretty much, okay, Catherine's going to confirm. She basically, what she's done is, she actually worked for the government. She worked for the government. It was either the government or the US Fed. She worked like deep in there. She said there is 100% confirmed $21 trillion missing. And it's in the black budget. And, you know, she's such a lovely lady. Like, you know, she's in there and she's gotten death threats, of course. Many death threats. They've sent her the signals. Yeah, pretty much acquaintances have approached. They send signed messages. They go, oh, someone told me they're literally going to kill you. Okay, so she's gotten that. And what did she actually uncover? She's uncovered that, yeah, $21 trillion has been missing. And it's gone to the deep state military UFO stuff. You know, it's interesting. There's actually a little cute story in here. She basically tells this little experience she went through where she was at like one of these investment banker hedge fund meeting things. She was talking to someone and they were like really bearish on the US dollar and she was bullish. Right? I think it was like many years ago. I forgot what year. And she was saying like the guy was basically who she was talking to, this banker said, US dollar is going to go down, man. They're printing money. And she said, no, not. We're going to go up. And it's very fascinating, right? She came to the same conclusion you and I will come to, right? She goes, well, no, US dollars got to go up. She goes, there's $21 trillion missing that you can't see on the US balance sheet. That's weapons, deep state, UFO stuff. She goes, US dollar's not collapsing. It's bullish as hell. Their dominance is super strong. So she even like starts off this interview, friends. We just go through. She's like obviously totally aware of how the monetary system works.
For 500 plus years has operated on a model called central banking warfare model. Okay. The central bankers print money out of thin air, and I'm grossly oversimplifying, but they create the money and then the military makes sure that people take it. Okay. And that keeps the liquidity going. So there are two sides to the coin. And when you say military, think intelligence in military, because surveillance is such an important part of the force. So you literally have the bankers running monetary policy, but then you have the military and intelligence backing it up. And you need both. It's like two hands of one coin. It's like two sides of a coin. Okay.
Right.
And what the bankers do, you grew up in the United States. Most people listening to this grew up in the Western world. And we've had for over a century a model where the bankers run monetary policy and then the people's representatives run fiscal policy. So the whole basis of the American Revolution was no taxation without representation. That means the people's representatives, the Congress or the state legislature, run the fiscal policy is the way it's supposed to.
So we know this, yeah? We know a government and a central bank, it's the same coin. It's the same coin, yeah? One's heads, one's tails. They pretend they're different, they're not. Okay? So this is the world we're born into. That's why crypto is a separate system, but not going to be so separate because, I mean, like BlackRock's in, government's in, everyone's in, bro. You know, StableCoins coming in, toxic, CBDCs, the whole shebang is pretty much coming in. Now, this is interesting, friends. There's a little section here called Holes in the Federal Healthcare Budget. So she's done a lot of investigation and she's actually been in the government. And what actually happened is she shares this story where she had to look out. She was actually working for one of the presidents. I think it's one of the president administrations. She had to pretty much figure out, hey, what's our income? What's our expenses? And the departments were all separated. And she started calculating all of it. She started putting together like, you know, different political, you know, workers and analysts to do it. And the further she kept digging, she goes, hey, how am I meant to like make a budget report if I'm not allowed to see all these other numbers? And so she ends up basically like charging her way through, you know, metaphorically. She's like, I demand this, I demand that. And basically, she ends up getting some access to some numbers, and she does all the calculations. She basically says, like, she spent this, like, 5-day period. She had this whole budget, because it was literally stacked to the ceiling of papers. And she calculates everything, and she goes, oh, there's like $21 trillion missing over the years, okay? And when she goes and calls up different government departments about it, like, they're like, oh yeah, we're not allowed to like ask about like where it goes. And she's like starting to get fussy. She's saying, how the hell are we in the government? How are we meant to produce budget reports? I can't even explain where this, like, 300 billion went, 1 trillion went, all these, right? So as she keeps digging deeper, she pretty much, friends, lands into what we already know, right? CBDCs are coming, okay? So I'll just let her speak about it. Look at this, the control grid. CBDCs enable modern slavery. It's literally everything we know about. So just CBDCs, in a nutshell, it's Tether and it's USDC, okay? And it's the Ripple USD. So it's pretty much blacklist function stablecoins where they can just make a smart contract and have total control over the population. And don't worry, friends, we're going to go deep into the UFOs, okay? There's some UFO, non-human intelligence, US-fed connections and stuff. So it's about to get juicy and spicy. We've got to play... Let's play some angel music for everyone right here, okay? It's crazy. Not really. Just red pill stuff. Yeah, this is how the world works. So what I'm now going to do, we're going to talk a bit about this CBDC stuff.
At the end of World War II, said we got 6% of the people and 50% of the resources. Mm-hmm. And to keep that going, we're going to have to be really tough. We're going to have to drop a lot of bombs. So Goldwater came along and he said, we're going to have to drop a lot of bombs and be really tough. And people said, no, we're good Christians. We don't want to, that's not us. Mm-hmm. So Jimmy Carter came along and he shivered in front of the fireplace and said, we're going to have to cut back. And the American people said, no, we don't want to do that. So then the Bushes, I always say the Bushes came along and said, you're all good Christians. Here's your check. Don't ask questions. Okay.
What she's actually done is she starts from 1940s and she goes through the whole history process of how basically the government, we have the politicians, could be like just Satanist type of inspiration with some of these people. We don't know who they are, who's controlling these, right? Demonic forces. Where they come in and they take advantage. They say, hey, you're a good Christian person. Just shut up. You're in government. We have to like do what we need to do. And what it always involves is we got the US dollar. We got 6% of the world population. We got like 50% of the world consumption. We have to make sure the US dollar has dominance. So that's why, this section is called the control grid, right? CBDCs enable modern slavery. So she goes through all these technological advancements and how we get to where we are today. And yes, it's pretty much everything, America starting wars and grabbing the oil and having all total energy control, right? So, and what I'm going to do now, okay, friends, there's a section here. She literally says, she goes, the Federal Reserve, right, they're central bankers. She goes, they never, ever, ever tell you the truth. She goes, because she worked with them. She goes, they are literally public liars, 24/7 liars. Jerome Powell, major loser, major scum. Her words, man, she's straight from the government. But she goes, they told the truth once. And it was when they admitted the truth about CBDCs.
It was explaining central bank digital currency, CBDC, but you can do it privately with stablecoins. It doesn't have to be a CBDC. It can be a stablecoin. And he said, we can make the rules of what you can do with your money, right, and we can enforce the rules of what you can do with your money. Right. So if they say, Danny, your health isn't what it should, you can't eat pizza. Your money won't work to buy pizza.
Right. Or you can't travel outside the limits of your area code or your zip code. Your credit cards turn off if you go out there, so you can't buy gas, you can't buy food.
Right. But the reality is with AI and software, I can make a entirely granular control system just for you, one person at a time. Right. And so I can.
So she talks about control system. That's what everything's being building up to. Man, I've got some crazy. I keep using the word crazy. It's not crazy. Look what the next title's part called for. It's installing operating systems in human bodies. You know how we just had the jabby jab friends, the jab scenario out there in the world? She mentions this dude's name. There's this like really smart, I think molecular biologist, basically some really smart biology dude. And he's like, how we're crypto, we're like awakened. right? The real woke, libertarian, freedom. We're like red-pilled from all the normies out there in the fiat currency cuck land. Well, there's a biology immunization dude, right? I forgot exactly his field, but he's in that field, health industry. He's like really forward thinking and like, you know, breakthrough type of genius in it too. And what she basically says is, he's looked at, you know, the pesticides that they basically spray all our food with. He looked at that. He looked at some weird stuff with the jab, if you know what I mean, the vaccine. He looked at some weird stuff with that. And he's looked at some weird stuff, I think, with, it was either the food or the water, something, right? And he's looked at them, and his conclusion, he basically said, what's in the supply of the food and air and everything out here by the government, it's all moving towards one path, which is making our human bodies an operating system. It's basically giving us the capability to do Neuralink stuff in the future, or be controlled, really. Okay. Now, when someone hears this, it could be too far-fetched for you, but you got to remember, man, like this is where it helps when you're in deep UFOlogy stuff, because if you think it's just like, oh, there's like 50 evil dudes who are just totally human and they want power over the whole world, you don't get anywhere, bro. Because humans, we die, dude. We die, your kids come out, they're not as evil as you, they move on and stuff out here, right? So they're not all human. We're being controlled. We know we're being controlled. There's non-human intelligence, right? Something out there is guiding us, right? Now, as we're going to go through, friends, it's interesting. She also believed, and she has like, you know, she shows a lot of different evidence and people, their discussions, people within the government, they know they're getting controlled. Do you know that? Bank of International Settlements, like there are people like they know there's some controlling and stuff out here. It's not coming from humans. It's coming from non-human intelligence. Their interpretation, though, is they're saying it's demonic. They said, oh, wow, it's actually like what the Bible been talking about. That's where ufology community splits. So you have, on one hand, people saying, wait, these entities seem to be all-powerful, all-knowing. They could crush us in a second, but they don't. So obviously they're good for us. And then there's the other faction of people saying, well, maybe it's not as clean as that, right? If there's good and bad humans, can't there be good and bad species? What about the yin and yang? What about angels, demons, right? God, Satan, and these. So if you anticipate, so it's hard for someone to think about this. It blew my mind just hearing this, right? So that's that. It's kind of like, friends, imagine someone who's like a blue pill cuck and they watch a Your Friend Saw Me video and I go, oh yeah, have you noticed how you make $100,000 per year now and you can't afford shit? Well, guess what, bro? The government has been debasing you for literally 20 years plus, especially 10 years, because the world governments all died with their debt in 2008. The world economy died, and they've been debasing you extra tax per year, and you haven't seen it compound because you don't know how to compute compounding inflation in your head. That's why the fiat currency has been literally run away, losing and diluting its value over time, and people holding scarce assets are crushing it, especially Bitcoin. Right, that's why the S&P 500, grows 8 to 10% per year. It's just a 2% premium over the global M2 supply. You know how people like normie world, when they come across me and they say, they're like, whoa, oh, that's why I haven't been able to save, because the currency's been getting diluted. Yeah. Well, I feel like I had that same awakening. This biology dude, and she's like relaying it. This lady's like really, really smart, right? She's saying, well, all these things that they've been putting, they're basically genetically modifying us. But it's happening so slowly. So by the time you and I are dead, I mean, like, you're not going to notice anything. But, you never know. The next 100 or 500 years, okay? Remember, I can't even compute exponentials in my head properly like you. It's hard to imagine, right? How fast or slow would this happen? So it's almost like they've got to give us, 100 mutations to kind of advance our brains for the next level, whatever it means, advancing human civilization. And they're just like slowly putting it. Who's they? That's always the question. Who's they? Who's they? Who's they? Well, it always goes dead. You keep going up the food chain. Who's they? Who's they? Who's they? It eventually goes dead. That's the interesting part when it comes to these. That's why a lot of people get scared when it comes to these. But the way I see it, man, like, what can you do? What are you scared about? Like, obviously, there's been a 120-year trend of world governments, non-human intelligence guiding humanity in a certain direction. There's literally nothing you can do about it. So you just kind of roll with it, right? There's a section here where she speaks about following the money to find fraud.
And how specifically, where does that money go specifically? Like, not just to news organizations or like TV networks, but like, do you have any or what is your understanding of how money is spent to influence ideas?
So the first thing, you spend a whole world of money on education to get the universities to present a certain kind of, view of the world.
So this is your friend Simon stuff. I can't remember, I'm getting goosebumps, but I'm like, hello, I've been talking about this since day one. Yeah, I've been talking about this since like 3-4 years ago, bro. We know this, right? Keynesian system, the government, they have the money printer, yeah? She said it starts with education. Okay, so education from where? The schools, the universities. Okay, you employ people with the fiat and you tell them, shill my bags. Keep people shilling Neil deGrasse Tyson, dumb down science. Number one. Number two, keep people from learning about gold, real money value, scarcity stuff. Okay, don't tell them government bonds are dog shit. Okay, don't tell them that. Show them models about, 60-40 portfolio. Keep them in the system. Don't, when it comes to the health industry, definitely tell them everything we do is fine. We're the government. You can trust us, okay? Like, all of these totally wrong. That's blue pill life, you know what I mean? Like, blue pill life, good on you, bro. You're getting cucked, okay? So it's amazing, right? Just everything we've already known this, okay? So what she actually does is she followed the money to go find the fraud. And this is where the next part kind of cracks on. Okay, she mentions, look at this next part. The US is funding a breakaway civilization. Now, I've heard this actually quite a few times, breakaway civilization. So we'll cover UFO stuff. This is exactly what it is. So pretty much just confirms there's black budget stuff. There's a US government that we know, and then there's a deep state where they got access to the weapons, the UFO tech, other scientists. They are outside of the control of the US government. They're more powerful. They're darker. We don't even know who they are, right? And if anyone wants to leak names, they just get them killed, okay?
Endowment basis. It is.
How much roughly total has been stolen?
So as of 2015, there was 21 trillion in undocumentable adjustments. But that's not cash. And it could reflect money coming in. So you could be bringing money in from the war zone. So how much?
So... Remember, my friend, I literally did. It's literally, friends. If you type in tornado cash, your friend Somi, okay, friends, you will find posts from me from multiple years ago, literally multiple years ago, not just 2024. I've got posts from 2022 where I just tell you, Ukraine. Anytime there's a war, it's a tornado cash for their money. That's how they actually move the stuff. Yeah. Every time there's a war, they send $1 billion in, and then another $1 billion, and then ends up being $1 trillion. They lie about the numbers. It goes in, they move money out. It's literally their tornado cash, right? Well, how does tornado cash work? You put in Ethereum into the system, you get a ticket, and then you can withdraw money out. No one knows that you withdrew the money, right? Money went in, it disappeared in the black hole. Yeah, because that's what they do with the war. Okay, they can send, we're sending you $1 trillion worth of planes, right? It's obviously, over time. We're sending $300 billion worth of tankers to Ukraine. It goes and moves around. The accounts get swapped, and then just gets funneled everywhere else, and they can continue doing their black budget stuff, right? Here's some pictures of some cute UFO stuff from OG, your friend Sami, 2023. Remember. This is how it works, right? That's literally just how it works, because you have to move money around somewhere. And like when people ask, hey, what are you doing all those trillions of dollars of research for? They don't have to answer to you. And by the way, they're building deep state UFO tech. They don't want to tell you or China or Russia or anybody else in the world what they're actually working on. So they have to keep their world dominance. And yes, that's why this whole term of breakaway civilization, it does refer to what we know this already, right? There are deeper players. It's deep state. You go down the rabbit hole. It's obviously Lockheed, Martin, Skunkworks, right? You know, these big American companies.
I'll give you an example, and I've told this story many times before. When I was at HUD,
True Classic isn't just a shirt.
Ads.
Loads with Furious, the law. I don't have to obey the law. I report to a higher moral authority. And that's a perfect example. When you're in Washington, you have a group of people whose attitude is, look, as long as I'm doing what the bankers tell me to do, I don't have to obey the law.
There you go. Right. As long as I'm doing what the bankers tell me to do. There's a part here. She even talks about receiving death threats. And here, look at this section. The Bank of International Settlements and Invisible Money. So the Bank of International Settlements, that is immune from all international law in the world. So it's above the US Fed, but the US Feds own it. Like they're all in cahoots with each other. Right. And so they call it, invisible money. Like we know it. We know you're building shit, dude. We're not dumb. Okay. Obviously, yes, 99% of people are, but we know that's what they're building. UFO tech, anti-gravity stuff, learning about all these things and keeping the population basically dumbed down with the Neil deGrasse Tysons of the world. That's why they fund, for example, Neil deGrasse Tyson's getting government grants. So like, hey, keep the population retarded, yo. Yes. Tell them this is the maximum of our science stuff. There's no evidence for any of these. And you're literally learning stuff that was like proven wrong 55 years ago plus, because they want to keep a step ahead, right? I mean, if you're in crypto, friends, it's literally like you own a centralized exchange and you don't want, imagine you had let's say you had 1 million customers in a centralized exchange and you make money off them trading. You will do everything you can to tell them basically centralized exchanges are the best. Forget DEXs. DEXs don't even exist, okay? Like that's it's the equivalent of them doing that. They hire people as propaganda to say, you'll lose all your money on a decentralized exchange. Everything's a scam there. They're not verified. Forget them, and you don't even talk about them. You just keep everybody on a centralized exchange. So we can use that as just a microcosm of how humans work when it comes to these. This next part as well, friends, she has a dig at Elon Musk, which is funny. And this is really insane, friends. Look, you know what? I'll just let it talk.
If you have an AI and you want to build a control grid and a social credit system, the most valuable data you need is payment data. And so taking the Social Security, the IRS, and the Treasury payment data, it's the most valuable data or some of the most valuable data in the world.
Oh, wow.
Right. So that's worth, it's funny, Naomi Wolf and I were trying to cover this at one point, and she said, that data is worth more than $1 trillion, and it is. And it's interesting because Musk was out raising capital for XAI and had a deal with Palantir AI at the same time. And my guess, I think
Palantir has an AI?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Well, according to published reports.
So yeah, in this segment, she says Elon Musk, his Doge stuff, she has a full load of bullshit. They didn't audit the Department of Defense. So, all the places where these trillions of dollars have gone black, they didn't audit them. They'll literally, of course they're not going to audit them, bro. Who the hell are you? They tell, literally, you enter this building, bro, there's going to be a bullet inside your head, turn around. And by the way, Musk is in, bro. Of course Musk is in, okay? Biggest psyops is telling everybody, the government, we definitely don't have anti-gravity tech. It's a bunch of bullshit, bro. Bunch of BS. So she said, you go check out the data that's being collected by Musk's AI and the payment system. She goes, this is literally all the building blocks to CBDC total control stuff. All of it's literally early stuff here. Now, we knew this, friends. Remember I told you, when Donald Trump came in, I'm like, it's good, it feels great, there's a change of direction. Do you remember that? I told you, we spoke. I said, look, we know this ain't lasting forever, bro. We know eventually the pendulum, because it just swung from the blue head freaks too much, right? The genital mutilation, chop off your own lollipop type of stuff. It's now swinging hard the other way, but we know eventually it stops. But don't worry, let the rats figure it out later. And rats, I mean metaphorically, it's all the blue pill cucks, the sheeps out there still stuck in the system who literally are just going to keep spinning your wheel, bro. Spin. Your salary gets higher. Why can't you afford a home? Oh, that's right. Because you're freaking growing at only 3% per year based off inflation, Kippy. When the real money supply is growing at 8% per year, you're literally losing 5% per year purchasing power. You are getting debased in real time. You're a cuck. World Economic Forum is cucking you. Bank of International Settlements is cucking you. The US Fed major loser is cucking you. Literally everybody's cucking you. Well, you know, some people love that life though. Not me. Not you either. Let's listen again.
Change how we're governed and managed. And we're having a big disagreement because they want central control, and digital technology will allow them to do that for the first time in history. And we don't want that. We want to be free. So we're having a big debate about whether or not we're going to go to a complete control grid or we're going to be free. That's the debate. And whether...
Not to be myopic, we know how this is going to end, bro. Complete freedom. Come on, bro. We know how it works. So, friends, what the government do is, okay, because they're controlled, bro. It's not all human. That's what everyone has to understand. Okay? It's not all human. Right? Something's controlling something. Non-human intelligence is controlling at the top. You can have two views. Is it all satanic demon, or is it guiding humanity to like have, you know, linked consciousness, globalization, lower the borders slowly over time? Our testosterone levels are all falling off the cliff. We know that, right? They're softening us up. Okay. This next part as well, friends, this is interesting because I literally guessed this would happen. Not even guess, okay? There's not enough money to pay off everyone's debt. There's not enough purchasing power to pay off all the debt. So there's actually evidence now that the government is doing some stuff to lower people's life expectancy. Why? Because they don't have to pay you for a very, very long time for your social security. Yeah. Because either you're going to, look, that's what it is. Okay. Either have five kids per person, like the baby boomers did, the baby boomers' parents, either do that, or we're going to have to balance the budget somehow. How are we going to do that? Two ways, right? They debase and they print you away, and they lower your life expectancy. You know, so, oh, you thought you were going to live to 95? Oh, sorry, did you die at 85 from another virus or something out here? It's actually happening, by the way. It's not even like guessing. It's happening.
Poisoning. I mean, we have the U.S. government systematically poisoning and killing the population. The COVID pandemic was a mass atrocity. You've killed millions, or you've killed or disabled millions of Americans intentionally.
And why do you think specifically they did? Does this have anything to do with depopulation?
It has to do. So the budget deal in 1995 broke, and that was it was described to me by the top pension fund, the president of the largest pension fund in the country described it to me in 1997. He said they've given up on the country. They're moving all the money out starting in the fall. So a concerted effort was made to put the government and the retirement system on a sound financial basis. It didn't work. They decided, okay, we're just going to start pulling money out. That's when the financial coup started. And that is when decisions started to be made that systematically lowered life expectancy.
So there's a path here done, obviously, over time. Are you surprised, bro? We know, duh, we told yous. Like, here's the thing, bro. We know this is happening. You're in crypto, guess what? Okay, we don't get to live forever, but at least you don't have to spin your wheel like a little blue pill cuck, like all the other sheep out there. They just get spinning the wheels. Golly gee, I can't figure it out why. I never progress in my life. Yeah, because you're watching TV, bro. You're watching TV. You're doom scrolling TikTok, brain rot generation. You're doom scrolling Instagram, looking at everybody's mansion, and you're literally getting yield farmed effectively for your attention. Trump ain't so innocent either, friends. Trump is accelerating the control grid.
But so Trump has been super, this current administration, this new administration, or at least when Trump was running, he was very pro-Bitcoin.
Trump was put in by the bankers to get the control grid. The other team in the Uniparty wasn't moving fast enough. They couldn't get the control grid.
I knew it.
I sent you a link. We just did a new collection of all the things Trump is doing to move the control grid. He is moving very, very fast. When it comes to building, first he's getting the Real ID implemented very aggressively. Real ID, to do a control grid, you need a very high quality precision national ID that's interoperable with all the other IDs around the world. And he's got Kristi Noem out there pushing the Real ID like there's no tomorrow. So they're working, and it's done through the states, but the feds are pushing it. So the first thing you need is a digital ID. The second thing you need is an all-digital financial system. So you got to kill cash, and you got to make everybody interact digitally. And if you look at what he's doing with taxes and Social Security, he's trying to make everybody, he's canceled pennies, but he's also canceled now. Normally I pay my taxes with paper, and now he's saying, no, you got to do everything digital.
Yeah, so it's just accelerating what was already happening. We're so popular, can do anything, right? That's what happens. So here's the thing. Okay, when people come across this, you run into the same problem usually that I had at the start, because you look at it and you're like, because we're humans, right? We're like, how's there like three dudes who are making all these decisions at the top and everyone's listening to them? How? No way. But we keep digging and you realize, silly me. It's not a monkey, dude. It's another intelligence. It's not humans. Make sense? Yeah, it makes sense now. Okay? It's kind of like a monkey, right? Friends, if you're a monkey in a zoo and then the lights go on and off and then a banana gets thrown over, and the doors open and you can see the sun and then the doors close, the monkeys, they're thinking like, who's this really intelligent monkey who's been able to create these weird things, turn the light on and on, because they're like, they don't even know what a light is. They go, sun comes up, sun comes down, sun comes up. What is this? Okay, where's these bananas coming from? But, hello, little monkey. You're not actually, see, monkey in a zoo. What? You're not being controlled by another monkey, dude. So here's a little monkey, right? Little monkey in the cage. See this? Cute little baboon. These monkeys are so cute. Look at these. Cute twitchable monkeys. You get it? It makes sense now, right? So we're a microcosm of that. So hey, guess what? It ain't a monkey throwing you those bananas. So it's something higher intelligence than you, right? The interesting, aren't we not? We're just like 2% smarter than monkeys based on like this big scale or that genetic difference. So once I started to learn about this, okay, I put the pieces of the puzzle almost together because I'm hearing, wait a minute, this makes no sense, bro. How have because I was thinking, like, who are these three old dudes that seem to never die, that have been around for 120 years, that are making all these world-powered government decisions, who are always like 85, and they're like literally about to die. They look like dried sultanas. And then how come when they pass away, the next guy that comes along makes the world decision that's accurate and gets everybody on trend for the next 50 years and then the next 50 years, and then you realize, oh, it's not human, man. It's something else. So I just want to quickly go back, friends, to this concept of what we just hear, the internet of bodies. They call this internet of bodies because the stuff in the food supply, the water, the stuff they're spraying, like kind of blew my mind. That's what like these really red pill bleeding edge guys are saying, like, oh, I don't know exactly what all these chemicals and stuff do, but they're all puzzle piece ingredients for basically changing us, evolving us over time. I'm using the word evolve. Maybe they use other terms.
If you look at all the patents and research and other work done on the Internet of Bodies, it is clear that there are mysterious ingredients in the food. There are mysterious ingredients in the spray. There are mysterious ingredients in the injections. And the question is, what are those for? And I think it's very intentional. I don't think it's an accident. And I think one of the goals is, as the chief scientist officer at Moderna said, is to install an operating system in your body.
That's pretty dark.
Yes, it's very dark. So go to the Purdue,
So, they say, oh, that's very dark. Yeah, but that's why I say, like, is it dark or was it the plan from day one? Is it dark because we're not told the plan? You don't know what's going on, right? If you're trying to advance a civilization, that's why I say, friends, you got to open your mind. Like, you and I, we're just literally farts in the wind, bro. We're gone in like a couple of decades, Whatever's controlling us is thinking about the next 10,000 years, the next 100,000 years, Our skull's going to get bigger. Our mouths get smaller. How we evolve, right? Consciousness evolving. Our brains get more of the neural connections. Friends, when we watch all the UFO stuff, all the abductions, there's no buttons in there, yeah? They control the ship with their minds. So obviously our brains over time, our pineal gland's probably going to get bigger. We just evolve like that over time. It's just that we can't see. Why? Because we're monkeys in the zoo. That's why. We're just monkeys in the zoo. Something interesting as well, friends. There's this part here where they speak about genetic engineering and advanced energy sources.
A plasma spaceship docked in the rings, and the theory.
So actually, let's actually check this out. So interesting. She researched a lot of the powerful families. A lot of you know about this. You always talk to me about it in Telegram. So these families are super obsessed with their family bloodline. Okay, there are names. I shared one on Twitter, this video a few times. They were like, I've got the names, these like, they trace back to like ancient, like maybe Italy, Netherlands, right? Somewhere in Europe. It's the R child and other ones. It's like the R child, I think they're one of the break-off ones, all these names out here. And yeah, the families, they're really obsessed with keeping everything in the bloodline. She pretty much confirms it as well. She goes, so we don't know what exactly it is that they're keeping in the bloodline and why. Could be genetic mutation, power. We don't know what it is.
I don't think so.
Oh, see the movie, huh? It's all in the movies, Okay. I remember in America, fact is fiction is fiction.
Well, you've seen. I know you talked about the novel, the science fiction novel, Three Body Problem. I heard you talk about that.
Right.
Which is basically the idea of this alien civilization coming here from another star system that has like 3 suns and they can't survive. And somebody contacted them somehow and like let them know that we have a planet here and they're on their way here and they're trying to stifle all scientific innovation on planet Earth. And so so by the time they get here in like 450 years, we can't develop technologically to be able to fight them off.
Right.
That book, that 3 Body Problem, that's the book they give to people in the deep state when you're like read into the UFO government stuff. And they also give it to you in China, Chinese government. So I've heard leaks about that. So I didn't even know what the book was, what it's about. So I heard that from there. So that's what actually the book is about. So they're like, hey, you just learned about the UFO stuff. Obviously, you're going to keep your mouth shut. You got to read this book. It's interesting, right? That's the book premise is kind of wild, right? It also makes you think, friends, like, our thoughts aren't really our thoughts. They're coming from some sort of cloud. We know that by now, right? How many times have we had MindLink on here and just stuff out here where you and I are thinking about some stuff? We come in Telegram, we're thinking about it. I'm like, sometimes, friends, you guys have been like, Swami, you're not going to believe this. You said a word in one of your streams. I literally looked up that word yesterday on my YouTube. You'd never said that word before. It's happened so many times, right? And we know it's not a coincidence. What we know from the UFO stuff, in Hollywood, like when they want to desensitize us, things get put into the movies and scripts. Here's the thing. One of the directors, I forgot who it was, when they were writing a script, they were writing a script for one of the movies, and then they admitted, they go, I was writing a script, and there was like this 3-hour session where there was like a light being in my room. It was on the corner of my eye, and I was basically writing, and I wasn't even really thinking. I forgot who it was. Okay, remember this story. Basically, if you guess, you go through what's the implication of that. The implication is non-human intelligence knows the future. Oh, you're a director. You're going to release a movie. A lot of the humans are going to learn about something. I'm going to make you write a certain part of your movie in here. Maybe that aliens are nice and everything's going to be okay. Whatever you want to educate people of, It's fascinating, right? They're literally it was like literally in his room, back before computers and stuff. He's just reading. He says he could see like this light being in the corner of his eye. And like he said, I think it's like some weird green text was appearing in the corner of his eye. And he's just like, he's writing. And he said he never spoke about it. It's like sounded so cuckoo. But now, because everything's out. Yeah. So you see, that's why you hear one of these stories, you think, man, that's a bit too nut. But then you hear, okay, there's like 45 of them all across the world, different scenarios, different art forms out here, right? You start to put these together, something's going on, right? Obviously, we don't have the full picture. We'll never know. Now, there's this section here, friends. She says, who is Mr. Global? So, them. She calls it Mr. Global. So she went on investigation research. She's like, who's controlling us? She keeps asking higher and higher up. Okay, who do you get those directions from? Where do you get those directions from? She keeps going higher and higher and higher up. And there's like this, she calls this term Mr. Global, right? And I'll just let her speak a bit about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I've been through most of the material. Farrell and I did a great 2-hour interview called Who is Mr. Global?
Mm-hmm.
And we went through every different hypotheses.
What do you mean? Can you define Mr. Global?
It's the committee that runs the world. So
Okay.
there's a committee at the top that makes all the big decisions. And my nickname for it is Mr. Global. So the question is, who is Mr. Global and why is Mr. Global doing what he's doing? Because when I look at a situation, I like to put myself in somebody else's shoes. Like if I was Danny and I was doing this, what would it look like from my point of view? And so I want to put myself in why is Mr. Global doing this? You know, what's Mr. Global's point of view? So anyway, Joseph and I went through and did Who is Mr. Global and why is he doing what he's doing? So we went through all the theories, but some of my favorite comments on the internet is they'll say, well, she worked at the White House and she knows, so she's not telling us. It's like, no, everybody at the White House is not sure.
Who's your best guess of who Mr. Global is?
I think you have intergenerational pools of capital, and right now they are over influenced by occult. So I think you have interdimensional intelligence, which is operating demonic intelligence.
Just drops it like that. There you go. She's like, I went and I researched it. Okay, here's the answer. Interdimensional forces. Told you, not human. Not human. Let's continue.
Interdimensional demonic intelligence.
Yeah. Wow. Yep. So I think this thing about good and evil is real. And I can't find it anymore. I found it once. There were in the 30s, a British physicist got up and said, we are being manipulated from other dimensions by intelligent beings from other dimensions. So I think, if you study Christianity and you read the Bible, you're dealing with both divine intelligence and demonic intelligence. And I think too much of the leadership has gotten deeply involved in the occult and demonic kinds of intelligence.
His brain's fried. It's like, whoa. We went from science and engineering. What? Yeah, get used to it. There's a part in here. I can't find it now. Maybe we'll go through it. Okay, but I'm going to tell you what happens. She says, from people she's spoken to, okay, basically people who are contacted by these interdimensional, I call them demons. Like, we don't know what else word to give them, right? She said, this is nuts. Yeah. She said, when people say, I love Jesus and Jesus Christ, they stop communicating with you. They actually go away. Yeah. Straight from her mouth, man, in here. Couldn't believe it. If you actually say Jesus. Wild, man. Wild. Right? That's crazy. That's Bible stuff. It's actually happening. But we don't know what it is. It's full manipulation. Once again, remember, it's like we're the fish in the fishbowl. We're the monkey in the zoo. We got to admit, man, getting a bit of goosebumps. Okay, literally government dudes, people talking about getting contacted. They're like, actually, you start talking about Jesus. We start thinking about, or saying, like, Jesus, help me. Yeah, saying just Jesus' name, thinking about Jesus. Took them away.
Wow.
So I just read a book, and I have no idea. So I've tried to find every theory to explain the paranormal stuff. So I'm not telling you this is true, but I just finished reading a book called Final Event by Nick Redfern. I don't know if you've ever read it. Mm-mm. And he describes it's a exploration of a group of military intelligence in the United States called the Collins Elite.
Oh yeah, I've heard about the Collins Elite. Yeah.
And they came to believe that the ET phenomena was a demonic phenomenon. It was not people from another planet. It was demonic intelligence.
It was biblical stuff.
Right. And one of the things he discovered was that, or the Collins Elite apparently discovered, is in many sort of ET abduction events, if you called on Jesus Christ, it would stop.
Well, there you go, friends. Straight, I couldn't believe it. I'm so glad this section. I knew it was in here somewhere. It's just, that's wild, man. That's wild. But once again, we don't know. Is it holographic in your mind? Because that means something to you. Like if it was a Buddhist person, do they say, I pray to Buddha? If it was a Muslim person, do they say, I pray to Allah? Do you know what I mean? Like, does that have any effect? Or is it like unique to you? Because we know this, right? UFO dudes, They can make you see stuff that's like programming something in your head. We know this from the flying blimps in the late 1800s. They had flying Navy airships in the sky, right? Because everybody, the only human technology we'd ever seen in the late 1800s were Navy airships. So when they're looking at, they were flying blimps in the sky, right? So it's kind of like they made them glitch out. They made them display something. They could have just been UFOs. They're like, hey, let's just like chameleon ourselves to look like something. And they got the year wrong, which is funny because they did this before the Wright brothers invented flight and whatever it was, 1912. Yeah, and this thing happened in the late 1800s. They're like, oh crap, the humans haven't invented flight yet. We're 20 years too early. Delete.
Yeah. That's what he reported. And he strikes me, I don't know anything about him, but it struck me as someone who was trying to do a faithful job of simply reporting what they found.
You know, there's a lot of folks in the intelligence community that publicly state how they believe that the whole UFO phenomena is like this biblical thing. How it's angels and demons and these things can be angelic entities and, you know, like literal, like ground, like legitimate people in the intelligence community, whether they're still active or retired or whatever, that have been on podcasts that state they believe this.
So I am sure that all of that stuff is happening. So I think we are dealing with demonic and angelic forces in our...
Tucker Carlson, Sean Ray, a lot of these people, remember my friend Tucker Carlson spoke to a lot of people. He's like, yeah, it's interdimensional, some Satan stuff. I'll just stop thinking about it because it gets too dark. Okay, so there is something though, I'm just going to balance it out with. Okay, which I think about. Did you know most of human advancement is from fear of dying and war? Did you know that? So we can't rule out the possibility part of our evolution from God, from the consciousness, the yin yang, cosmos, whatever it is, okay? Part of our evolution journey could be that whatever these beings are, they just keep lighting a fire under our buttholes, okay? Because it's true. You look back at everything, you know? How did we advance science, friends? Why do we even have antibiotics? Yeah, because we're getting wiped out by plague and death. How did Einstein advance his physics? Yeah, because bad things are happening. So that's something that's also true. It's very, we don't know the answer. We'll never know the answer. It's always going to be a deep mystery, okay? Like, okay, we know what's happening 100%, not even a doubt in my mind. The question is, though, is it natural? You know? Is it like you're going to the gym and like, hey, for you to grow, you got to put time under tension and hurt? Is it part of that? Or is it something trying to like destroy us from within? I don't know. That's something we'll never have. That's, now you're going into deep philosophy out here. But it is actually true. When you have full peace and everything's legit and there's no fear, we don't actually advance. That is, yes, it's a sad reality. We don't actually do that. Yeah. You know, we're always trying to improve life. Okay, but if you're perfected, there's nothing to improve. That's something to sleep on. Is it part of humanity? Oh, you're trying to kill each other. It's like this wave, this swing, this pendulum swinging. So it's interesting, right? We touched on genetics, stablecoins, CBDCs, control. PulseChain has product market fit. Maybe pDAI, if it's part of the story, an unstable coin, they do have product market fit no matter how you spin it. But for how long? You know, but, you know, don't worry about that. That's kind of a myopic view. For how long? For how long? You know? Don't worry. I mean, like, wouldn't you rather at least see that it's brighter here rather than like hang out in, you know, the sheep labyrinth, slaughterhouse? Of course, that's why you're in crypto in the first place. We touched on a lot of things, friends. A lot of things. Your brain expands on this. That's, by the way, like, I hope one day, you know, this is my invisible bow and arrow shooting the target. I'd love one day, but hopefully we'll hit a home run And people get to watch these videos and they're like, oh my gosh, he's not using some sort of RSI indicator to put all this together. Yeah, man. That's it, man. You want to hit the home run? You want the highest multiples? You literally got to start looking at targets no one else can see. They don't even know these targets are conceivable. This is the type of stuff you have to go through. Maybe. Or just ends up in a deep alleyway and you lose. Okay, but that's why it's a believer's cycle, right? Don't stop believing. Like, subscribe, press the belly button and all. Catch you in the next one.